The greatest victories are silent. The deepest minds don't shout, they watch. In a world where people mistake loudness for intelligence and attention for respect, the ones who move in silence always leave the strongest impact. We live in a time of constant noise, endless opinions, performative confidence, and people competing for validation with every word they speak. But here's a contrast that will hit home. The loudest man in the room often reveals the most, not about the world, but about his own insecurities. Now think about this. The person who doesn't speak much, who simply observes, who responds with calm precision instead of emotional outbursts, that's the person you can never predict, never fully read, and never control. That person, my friend, is powerful, and in many ways, they're already steps ahead of everyone else. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, silence is worse. All truths that are kept silent become poisonous. But nature wasn't talking about suppressing your truth forever. He was speaking about the discipline of when to speak and when not to. When you remain silent, you don't surrender. You build pressure. You collect clarity. You observe the battlefield without revealing your weapons. Outsmarting someone doesn't require a single word. It requires strategy, awareness, and emotional control, traits that are often ignored in modern culture because they're not loud or glamorous. But the truth is, the silent ones win wars, not just arguments. This video will break down 6 deeply transformative ways you can outsmart anyone, not with loud arguments, not with manipulative tricks, but by mastering silence, perception, and mental strength. And every point will connect directly to something in your life that feels real, not theoretical. You'll see why some people suddenly become intimidated by you. You'll understand how to read people without reacting. And most importantly, you'll learn how your silence becomes your sharpest sword. So if you've ever been talked over, underestimated, or felt like your quiet nature was a weakness, this script is your turning point. But before we dive in, don't skip a single part of this video. Every point builds your silent strength, and every second gives you tools they never taught you in school. Like, comment, and share this video if you're tired of the noise and ready to win in silence. Subscribe to the channel, and I want to see you grow silently, smartly, and powerfully. Point 1. Master observation before action. There's a quote that should sit with you forever. He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. Nature. This isn't about obedience in the military sense. It's about self-discipline in your reactions. To outsmart others without saying a word. Your first weapon is observation. And this doesn't just mean watching. It means deeply reading people's intentions, energy, reactions, and patterns all before you make a move. Most people don't observe. They assume. They react. They talk to hear themselves. But those who observe first have the ultimate advantage because they learn everyone's weaknesses without revealing their own. Let me give you a relatable example. Have you ever been in a conversation where someone subtly insults you or challenges you? The normal urge is to defend yourself, explain, argue. But imagine this. Instead of reacting, you just pause and you observe. You watch how desperate they are to get a rise out of you. You see how uncomfortable they get when they don't control your response. You remain silent. Now you've just won without saying anything. Nature believed that power lies not in domination, but in the awareness of the soul. In your case, that soul awareness means noticing the emotions behind people's words. You'll see fear disguised as arrogance, insecurity masked by overtalking, manipulation hidden in fake smiles. Once you see these patterns, you stop being surprised. And when you're not surprised, you can't be controlled. People who can't control their emotions often reveal their entire strategy. But the person who's calm, observing, quiet, that person becomes unreadable. And the unreadable person is always underestimated until it's too late. Start training yourself to listen twice as much as you speak. Notice people's tones, how they look away when they lie, how their body language changes when they feel threatened. In silence, you gain all this information. You become a mirror and people reveal their true selves to mirrors. But here's the key. You don't just observe for knowledge. You observe to delay your action until it's impossible for you to lose. That's what chess masters do. They don't play the first move emotionally. They wait, they study, and then they strike once, precisely and effectively. So if you want to outsmart without saying a word, master observation, delay your response. Learn the battlefield, and let silence confuse them before action crushes them. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence sees everything. Point 2. Make your presence felt without explaining yourself. The higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. Friedrich. No. One of the deepest mistakes people make in social dynamics is the need to explain themselves, to defend their silence, to prove their worth, to narrate their every move. But here's the truth. The more you explain yourself, the more you invite judgment, dilute your authority, and expose your vulnerabilities. If you want to outsmart anyone silently, be someone whose energy enters the room before your words do. Presence isn't about charisma. It's about certainty. And certainty doesn't need a mouth. It needs intention. Let's say you walk into a room and don't say much. Most people would feel insecure about being too quiet. But what if that silence made people lean in? What if your calm misunderstands your silence? Let them. If someone assumes you're passive, let them. If they think you're weak because you don't fight back, let them believe it. The more they underestimate you, the easier it becomes to operate unbothered. Composed presence made others unsure of how to handle you. That uncertainty makes them cautious, which gives you control. You don't need to tell people your plans. You don't need to explain your past or justify your choices. Your consistency, stillness, and non-reactivity will communicate far more than words ever could. Nature's quote reminds us that those who can't understand your mindset will always see you as small, not because you are, but because their vision is limited. That's not your problem to fix. Here's a practical mindset shift. If someone unthreatened and unexposed, this point is not just psychological, it's strategic. In high-stakes business rooms, in relationships, even in social conflict, the person who doesn't rush to fill silence or clarify themselves gains an upper hand. Why? Because everyone else becomes eager to understand you while you've already understood them. You outsmart people when you make them curious and uncertain, and nothing creates curiosity like mystery. So stop giving people your blueprint. Don't narrate your growth. Just grow. And remember this. Silence backed by a powerful presence is never seen as weakness. It's seen as mystery. And mystery, when rooted in confidence, becomes a weapon. Point 3. Use calmness as a power play. There is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. Friedrich Nietzsche. In every argument, every challenge, every emotionally charged situation, there is one consistent truth. The calmer person always wins. Calmness is not passivity. It is control. And that control, especially in chaos, becomes terrifying to the person trying to provoke you. Imagine someone tries to insult you in front of others. Most people would either clap back or walk away in visible anger. Both reactions give power away. But now imagine this. You look at them blankly, not with hate, not with fear, but with unmoved calm. No rise, no reaction, just stillness. That moment, that pause, it's more powerful than anything you could say. Why? Because they're expecting a fight, not indifference. And when you don't react, you flip the script. You show them they don't control your emotions. And when someone realizes they can emotionally move you, they lose their grip. That's how you outsmart without words, by refusing to play their emotional game. Nature understood that in madness there is always a method, and in that method, we must choose reason over reaction. When your calmness becomes unnerving, people start revealing their insecurity. Without realizing it, they raise their voices. They repeat themselves. They shift blame. And all the while, you sit in quiet power. This is emotional warfare. And your greatest weapon is self-command. Think about the most powerful people in the world. They don't yell. They don't rush. They don't argue with people beneath their maturity. Why? Because when you're truly powerful, you don't chase validation. You control energy. Here's something to remember. The more people try to break your calm, the more powerful your calm becomes. In your personal life, this could mean not texting back right away when you're provoked. In business, it might mean letting someone speak all their nonsense before you respond with one precise fact. In conflict, it could mean smiling gently at someone who expected rage. That moment when you refuse to be reactive is when you become the most unpredictable, unshakable, and dangerous version of yourself. Don't give them what they want. Give them silence and let them wonder what comes next. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My calm is my revenge. Point 4. Disappear to reclaim power. Invisible threads are the strongest ties. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of the most effective silent moves in life, and the one most people are too scared to use, is the art of disappearing. Not permanently, but strategically, deliberately, with intention. Let me explain. When you're constantly available online, in person, over text, people become numb to your presence. They don't have to value you because they've never had to miss you. But the moment you go quiet, vanish from a space they took for granted, your absence starts to speak louder than any words ever could. That's the paradox. Your silence makes noise. Your absence becomes a presence. Your mystery becomes a mirror for their reflection. When nature said, invisible threads are the strongest ties, he meant that sometimes what people can't see or touch is what influences them the most. That's the power of withdrawal. Here's a real-life emotional scenario. Let's say someone starts treating you like an option. You could confront them, argue, demand answers, but that gives them power. Instead, you simply disappear. No announcements, no drama, no long explanations, just distance, silence, absence. That person will do one of two things. They'll either panic and reflect on their behavior, or they'll do nothing and confirm you made the right decision. Either way, you win. And this isn't just for relationships. In life, when people expect you to always be explaining, reacting, or showing up, your sudden disappearance becomes a psychological disruption. They start questioning themselves. They wonder what changed. And most importantly, they wonder if you've outgrown the dynamic. Because the truth is, when you remove your energy from people who never truly respected it, you become free. You reclaim your mystery. You reset the imbalance. You begin controlling the game. This is not ghosting. This is growth. Growth that's silent, invisible, and deeply unnerving to those who were used to having access to you without earning it. Your disappearance shouldn't be a punishment. It should be a declaration that your peace, your energy, and your time are not for public consumption. They are privileges, and only the observant will notice their worth. So next time you're pulled into a drama, underestimated in a room, or devalued in a connection, don't fight, just fade and watch your absence shake their ego more than your words ever could. Point 5. Say less, but watch everything. Thoughts are the shadows of our feelings. Always darker, emptier, simpler. Friedrich Nietzsche. The smartest people in any room usually speak the least. Not because they don't have something to say, but because they're saying everything through what they choose not to say. That's the difference between reacting and reading. This point is about learning how to say very little, but observe everything. It's not just about holding your tongue. It's about sharpening your inner perception so intensely that you no longer need to defend, explain, or interrupt. Your silence becomes a space where the truth naturally surfaces. Let's be honest. Most people reveal themselves without even realizing it. They talk too much. They overshare. They fill silence with words they haven't even thought through. But when you're quiet, when you're simply watching, you start to see patterns, inconsistencies in what people say, the way they change tone around different people, how they treat those they don't need anything from, how they Speak about others when they're not around. These tiny observations, these details are gold. They give you a deeper understanding of a person than any argument ever could. Nature's insight into the relationship between thoughts and feelings tells us something powerful. People's words are often weaker than their emotions, but you can see those emotions if you pay close attention. And when you do, you'll know who's genuine and who's performative, who's confident and who's compensating, who's manipulative and who's insecure. Here's a real power move. The next time you're in a group conversation, say very little, but stay completely present. Look at people's expressions when others speak. Notice how they react when they're interrupted. Watch who needs to dominate and who's fine being still. In silence, you'll gather more data than a 100 conversations could ever give you. Now, here's the twist. Don't use what you observe right away. Let it simmer. Let it shape your long-term strategy. Because power isn't just knowing things. It's knowing when and how to act on what you know. The person who talks too much loses leverage. The person who observes holds all the cards, not just socially, but emotionally. You don't need to tell them you see through them. Just keep watching. When they slip, you'll be the only one who saw it coming. Point 6. Control the unspoken energy. In every room, all great things must first wear terrifying and monstrous masks in order to inscribe themselves on the hearts of humanity. Friedrich Nietzsche. Sometimes the most powerful part of you isn't what you say or even what you do. It's the energy you carry. And energy doesn't need a voice. It's the posture, the eye contact, the steady breath, the confidence that isn't forced but felt. When you enter a room with self-command, people sense it. It's not arrogance. It's not fake dominance. It's just something intangible. And that's why it's so effective, because what people can't define, they can't defend against. Nature's quote tells us that all truly powerful things, ideas, people, revolutions begin with a mask. That's a little scary. Why? Because true power disrupts comfort. It challenges people's sense of control. And when you master unspoken energy, you become that quiet disruption. You don't need to dominate conversations to own the room. In fact, silence often creates more tension than words ever could. Why? Because people start to question what you're thinking. Is he judging me? Does she know something I don't? What is he planning? That discomfort, that curiosity, that's power. Here's what that looks like in real life. You walk into a meeting and instead of chatting nervously, you sit down with calm eyes and relaxed posture. You're in an argument, and instead of raising your voice, you slow your breathing and pause for an uncomfortable silence. You're in a group, and when everyone else is trying to outdo each other, you just smile slightly and observe. This energy makes people second-guess their behavior. It shifts the attention without effort. It turns the spotlight toward you even if you never asked for it. And the secret is, you didn't do anything dramatic. You just refused to participate in the performance. You stayed grounded. You stayed centered. You didn't flinch. This is more than a social tactic. It's a personal philosophy. When you carry yourself like your time, your words, your reactions are sacred. People feel it, and they treat you accordingly. The unspoken becomes the most respected. Don't just enter rooms anymore. Shift them. Don't just exist. Be felt. Let your silence be the loudest presence in the room. And when someone finally tries to test you, remember you don't have to win with noise. You win with composure, with presence, with patience. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Epictetus. We've explored nature's wisdom on silence and strategy. But let's close with a Stoic truth that ties everything together. True strength isn't loud. It's silent, still, and sovereign. The Stoics taught that the wisest man is the one who controls his emotions, not the one who controls others. And when you learn to outsmart without speaking, through observation, absence, calmness, and unshakable energy, you are no longer reacting to the world. You are leading it. People confuse silence with weakness because they've been conditioned to associate noise with relevance. But you, music, now understand the deeper reality. That your silence is a language, and only those on your level will hear it. Clearly, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." You don't need to outtalk, outperform, or outprove anyone. Just don't become them. Let your discipline speak. Let your detachment speak. Let your presence, your eyes, your stillness do all the talking. This script wasn't just about tricks or tactics. It's about a new identity, one where your self-awareness becomes your superpower, your silence becomes your shield, and your energy becomes your voice. And from now on, every room you walk into, every conversation you don't engage in, every insult you don't react to at all, becomes part of your transformation. One that can't be explained, only felt. So, choose silence, choose mystery, choose control, outsmart them, not with volume, but with vision. If this message awakens something in you, like, comment, and share this video so others can grow silently and powerfully too. Subscribe to the channel because your journey of self-mastery is just getting started.